A written book of glitter kind sits on my Kindle behind all the other things that I should be reading instead. But here we are, so let's all critique this text in this react. Yeah, yeah. Oh, oh. Hey, hi, hello there. Welcome to another episode of An Anthropologist Reads Glitter and Lazer's book, A Life Full of Glitter. And we are on chapter 7, Goals, Creating a Cause for Self-Celebration. Woo. This chapter is kind of interesting only because this is the chapter where Anna talks about becoming a runner. And she's mentioned the running, obviously, during her whole learning to run saga so that she could run her 5K. But during that whole, not in the documentary, though I do think it is in her little mini documentary that she put together, but during that whole phase, she mentioned how she used to run. She said that a couple times, not a bunch, but a couple. Enough that I picked up on it. And so I was like, when was Anna ever a runner before? Because the other part of Anna lore, Anna's always been a big girl. Like, Anna's never been thin or what you would picture a stereotypical runner to look like, is my point. So I was just curious, like, when was Anna a runner? And apparently sometime before 2018, and I think even before that, she decided that, according to the book here, I woke up one morning convinced I was meant to be a runner. Cool. Nothing wrong with following your dreams, right? And then she says, despite how ill-equipped I was, I made up for it in spirit. The whole story we're going to get into here is eerily, blow for blow, is eerily identical to the story we just went through with Anna learning to run a 5K or preparing to run a 5K. Run. To the point where, I mean, it's identical. It's almost verbatim. Anna just woke up one day and decided she wanted to start running again and she was going to run a 5K. Nothing wrong with having that kind of a goal, honestly. The problem is Anna's almost 600 pounds and really shouldn't be doing that. And anyone training her should know that. Like, the run lab she goes to, the way she makes it sound, this is all modern day. The way she's making it sound is that, like, this run lab place, they're going to train her to be the best 5K runner there ever was. And they're perfectly happy working with obese bodies. And they don't see anything wrong with Anna running.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Davis. I'm the founder and CEO of Run Lab here in Austin, Texas. My feeling and the reason for starting this company is because I feel that anybody who wants to run should be able to run. And we're all built very individually, right? So we base our process on helping people understand their own bodies and the way that they should move unique to their structure. So there's no right way to move. There's no right way to run. It all depends on you and the way you're built. So that's kind of what this company is built on and why we're here.
And then when she actually shows us the footage of her interacting with the trainers at Run Lab, they're like, yeah, you don't even walk right. So let's work on getting you walking correctly. And then we'll work on running because you don't even jog either. Like, you don't run, you don't jog, you don't walk right. Let's go back to the basics and learn to walk correctly, and then we'll work on running.
It's an evolutionary process when it comes to your walking and your running. Like, we're going to fix your walk as well. Not just make you a good runner, but make you a good walker.
Okay.
Because a lot of the concepts that we're going to apply in your jogging and your running also apply in your walk.
At the end of my assessment, I found out some pretty bad news. It turns out I don't walk properly. I have straight legs, which means I do not bend my knees at all when I walk. So before I even thought about running, I was going to have to relearn how to walk because right now I was at serious risk of injury.
So I'm going to go through all three views. Okay. There is 4, but for the sake of the left side being the problem child, we're going to focus on that.
It's weird. I know the left side is the problem child. I can tell now.
When we are running, you actually do a very good job keeping your leg underneath yourself. Similar to what I said you did with the walk where you kind of posted.
Yeah.
you're unlocked, but you keep it there and you don't actually absorb and coil down like if you were going to jump. You just use your ankle. So if we ever watch the Olympics for speed walking, you technically do a double stance.
So I'm technically just walking.
You are super speed walking.
Look at me, I'm a fastest walker. No, I'm not. But
And there is nothing wrong with that.
it's not, so that's not jogging or running.
Technically, no.
Okay, I have never run or jogged.
So that's what seems to have actually happened with Run Lab. But leading up to this little mini documentary being released, Anna made it sound like the Run Lab people were gung-ho, gonna train her. They do. There are clips of her working with the TRX equipment there and with what I assume is a TRX trainer. And they are having her jump quite a lot on her knees. And you can see when she comes down from her little hop that she does, because Anna also can't hop. There's a point at the very beginning where she's getting her assessment, her physical assessment, and the guy's like, just hop on one leg. And she's like, I can't do that.
Just like our old days in hopscotch, single foot, single foot. All good. These are challenging. We do them on purpose, right?
Yes, I feel humbled.
Did not know I couldn't do that.
Cannot hop anymore.
So she can't even hop anymore. So with the TRX machine, they have her full on jumping, like little hoppy jumps, and she comes down so hard, her whole body shakes when she hits the ground. And it's just like, you can hear her knees going every time she lands. To which Anna, of course, is posting all these things about, oh, it's fine. The TRX machine makes it so that the pressure on my joints is insignificant and it's going to keep me from hurting myself. And then later on in the documentary, we find out that she's been pushing herself in her training while her knee has been re-injured, implying that it was injured before and she has aggravated the injury a second time.
So I have this knee injury that I am working through, and we got about, I guess this is about 2 1/4 in, and I'm just starting to have some pain. The way they told me is to keep going if it's below a 4. So I'm right on that border right now, and I'm trying to call it. I'm gonna try to stretch my leg out a little bit, as I did earlier, and that kind of helped, and see if I can get the pain to go away a little bit. So we'll see.
This is the most recent running saga. The one we're going to talk about throughout chapter 7 is Anna's running journey pre-2018, because remember, this book was published in 2018. And it's just so similar. The only thing is there's no Run Lab, but I think she does. Well, let's get into it. So anyway, she says, despite how ill-equipped I was, I made up for it in spirit. Despite all the reasons why this might be a bad idea, I headed to the shoe store and bought my first pair of running shoes. Now, the problem with this 2018 statement is that it contradicts the 2024 documentary, where in 2023, she goes to a shoe store to buy properly fitting running shoes, and she's acting like she has never purchased running shoes before, where in 2018 she clearly has in print that she purchased running shoes before. And I know it's a small detail, and I know most people are like, whatever. It's just, this is another breadcrumb in the trail of little white lies that Anna tells throughout her history, throughout her story, on her channel. Anytime she's trying to make inspo porn for her plus-sized followers, she just sprinkles in these little white lies. And maybe she just forgot. She just forgot that she wrote this in her book from 2018, because it has been a while. You know, maybe it just slipped her mind, but there's a lot of that. There's just a lot of it, you know. Now, she does say things, she does make very interesting observation here. What I have always found odd is that when you try to change your habits, so many people rush to tell you you can't. Fat girls can't run. You're just going to injure yourself. You should stick to walking. So it sounds like when she decided that she was going to take up running this last time, that she was getting the same pushback that she received this time. And she didn't stick with the running from this era in her life. She didn't stick with it past a certain point, if at all. Because when she starts her new running journey, she can't run, she can barely walk. She even mentions the fact that she's intimidated by like the treadmill, which in all honesty, again, I keep going back to this, that Anna is very tall, which kind of compounds her weight. And treadmills only have so much, they can only take so much poundage, basically. And Anna probably does tap that out, unless they had like a specialized treadmill there, which they might have. If they're used to working with obese clients, they probably do have a treadmill that can hold higher weight loads. I hope. She didn't break it when she ran on it, so I'm going to assume it was calibrated for her. Let's see, she says, I started running a minute at a time. Those were the longest minute intervals of my life. I'd stand hunched over at the end, gasping for breath and praying that I wouldn't die. However, little by little, I got better. I began to run farther for longer. I never ran very fast, but I was running. All of that just kind of is just the exact description of her running journey in 2023, 2024. She would show herself running a mile-ish, and at the end of that mile, she would have a breakdown because, oh my God, you guys, I ran a mile. Or she just looked miserable, or she would just be panting and red-faced and unable to catch her breath. And she's, even today in 2023, 2024, she's still trying to push this narrative that she's just as physically capable as any other person who isn't morbidly obese, and yet continues to put up footage of herself clearly demonstrating that she is not, is how that comes out. And it's just really interesting that she was doing this even as far back as 2018, which tells me she was doing it even further back than that. Now, the thing is, if you go to Anna's blog, which is Anna's old blog, Glitter Plus Lasers, you got to use the Wayback Machine to get to it. There are pictures of Anna on there, and I personally thought she was unrecognizable at first. Like, I had one of my viewers send it to me in my Instagram DMs, and I went there and I thought they had sent me something a mistake. And it took me a minute to realize that I was looking at Anna. She's still big, don't get me wrong, but she's like my level big. Now, keep in mind, Anna, again, I cannot reiterate this enough. Anna's very tall. And I have had people tell me that Anna is anywhere from 5'7", all the way up to 5'11". And I know that every person that puts her height down in my comment section thinks they've got the right number, but literally that height spread is somewhere between 5'7" and 5'11". Either of those is very tall for a woman. So even in these pictures that I was seeing of her, she's still very tall. The amount of weight that she has on her at that point is significant. It's almost half. It has to be at least half what she has on her today. You know, Anna, somewhere around the time that Anna was working for this startup, and I'm only piecing this together based on the blog posts of hers that I've seen, somewhere around the time that she was working for this startup here, that she quits to go write this book, apparently, she balloons up to almost 600, if not over 600 pounds. All right. And Anna's going to carry a little bit extra weight on her anyway, just because she's taller. That doesn't mean that, like, it just means that her ideal weight is higher than like mine would be. My ideal weight's somewhere around like 120, something like that. Anna's is probably actually closer to 140, just because she's so much taller. Anna tells us the story about her. 2018 Anna tells us the story about her and her running dream, because after she starts running longer than a minute, she says, "My dream became my reality." And this is her way of introducing us to goals, how to set them, how to achieve them, why they're so hard to get to, etc., etc., etc. So the next section is why achieving your goals is so dang hard. And she says the first sentence, If you haven't figured out while reading, I love studying how the brain works. I think Anna enjoys looking at science's ass. I don't think Anna actually has any interest in actual science. Anna is very into having science tell her the thing she wants it to say and has little to no interest in actually figuring out what is actually being said at any point in the scientifical world, if you will. She says, so when I started researching goal setting, I dove right back into my cranium studies. As if she herself was some kind of researcher in the cranium studies field. This is such an Amberism right here. Anna can't even cite sources correctly in this book. You're not going to convince me that Anna is any kind of like actual not Googling it researcher. There's nothing wrong with Googling if you're just doing casual research and stuff like that. But if you're at a level that Anna's trying to convince us that she's at, like on par with actual laboratory and clinical scientists, I'm going to need you to cite your sources. Interesting thing, there is a notes section to this book. It is buried. It's buried. It's the last thing in the, it's the last thing in the table of contents. I blanked it, apparently. Or did I? There's a fun fact about ebooks. You can update them. Anyway, when you go to the notes section, it's almost worse that there's a notes section. When you go to the notes section, she just has these random citations. And granted, they are full Chicago-style citations that are linked to nothing. They're not linked to chapter. They're not linked to lines within the book. They have numbers, but it's literally 1 citation, 2 citation. They're not footnotes. That 1 and that 2 are not footnotes. They do not connect back to anything in the book. Some of them aren't in the book at all. And I say that because there's way too many times in these chapters where she just said, well, we're here. According to research by various neurologists, that's the sentence. There's no explanation who they are. There's no explanation what they were studying, where they came from. Nothing. So even though she's got this list of notes in the back of the book, which one of those line up with this line of according to various neurologists? I don't know. There's no way to know. And even then, in the notes section, in her little numbered line of notes, there's one entry in there that literally just says, I made these numbers up. That's the entry in the notes section. I have no idea what numbers she's making up. Was that a Freudian slip? Did she put that in there to remind herself that she just BS'd some crap? Like, that's not really helping your case, Anna. I just made these numbers up. I'll try to take a Photoshop. I will try to take a picture of that and put it up in here because it's that bad. It's real. Anyway, we start off, according to research by M.K. Govern, a fellow in psychiatry at Stanford University. So close. So close. This is probably the best citation she's had in this entire book. This one right here. And now that I know that the notes section exists, I could theoretically go back into the notes section and try to find the MC Govern entry, which, by the way, these aren't alphabetized. These notes in the back, in the little notes section that aren't linked to anything, they're not alphabetized. So I'm going to have to go through them and physically look for MC Govern. I mean, I know I can do a search in my ebook because I'm using the ebook. But if I wasn't using an ebook, if I was using the audio version, which doesn't have anything in it, or the actual physical copy of this, I'm going to have to do this by hand. And there's a reason why footnotes and numbering footnotes and just in-text citation is a thing. And then our next line is, according to research by various neurologists, which I've already talked about. We also have, sometimes when we visualize our goals, we actually increase the potential distress in our mind that our minds might go through. Citation needed. Jeremy Dean, a psychological researcher at University College in London, that doesn't tell me anything. Is Jeremy Dean a doctor? Is he an associate? What is his position at the University College in London? Is he just like a lab guy that works under somebody? A psychological researcher tells me nothing. What does he study? There's a lot under that umbrella, Anna. If you would just put down the paper that you're talking about, that narrows all of that down, because the paper will have his credentials on it. The other thing that I've noticed and I think I mentioned this in the last video where we went over chapter 5 and 6, and I'm noticing it here in chapter 7 too. There's a definite tone shift here, and it's mostly in that the citations have gotten better. Not great, but better. And there's just like a shift in tone as a reader when you read it. You know how authors have their own voice when you read these things. It just became very evident, actually kind of more around chapter 6 than chapter 5, but I think I do mention it. But there's clearly someone else influencing the book at this point. I don't know if she's got an editor that finally put their foot down, or if she's working with a ghostwriter and she's just adding her stories, her personal stories in here as she goes. Or maybe somebody is just making this completely up out of whole cloth. Maybe somebody just sat down with Anna, interviewed her for a couple hours, and just took all of that information and slapped this book together for her to put her name on to publish. There's nothing wrong with having a ghostwriter. It's a very long running tradition in the world of writing. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. You pay ghostwriters so that you can use their work. They know ahead of time. Their name's not going on that. That's why they're called ghostwriters. So there's nothing wrong with it. Okay. There is something wrong with not fully citing your work, citing the works that you're talking about. It would fall under plagiarism in some of these instances, especially when she's at the beginning of this chapter. I delved back into my cranial research. What university were you doing that research at, Anna? Like, who were you doing? Who was supervising that research? Because as far as I know, you don't have the credentials to be leading top tier research like that. So where's this coming from? In the vein of more things Anna tells us about herself that I think are interesting, she says, for example, if I set a goal to be a runner, my mind begins to think of me as a runner and gets irritated when I am unable to run initially. Can we go back to this most recent running saga for her? And can we recall all of the hate that she would spew upon people when they were like, hey, maybe don't run just yet. Maybe work on walking. Walking's just as good for you as running. She was so bound and determined that she was a runner that she was just aggressively attacking people for suggesting that she should walk instead of run. To my brain, I am a runner. I should be able to run. It's why often when we try new things we are excited about but aren't magically great at the first time, we beat ourselves up for it. So 2 things. I have to check my notes here. This final sentence here, it's why we often try new things we're excited about, we aren't great at the first time, we beat ourselves up for it. This is more telling of Anna's personality than it is of anyone else. First off, she has no research here. She has no citation here to show research to back up the statement. So this is Anna projecting again. And she does this a lot in this book. She clearly takes her mindset, which is heavily influenced by her upbringing and her, just the culture she grew up in and all that stuff. She's projecting it on everyone who's reading this book. We are all Anna at this point. Because not everybody's like this. Not everybody gets discouraged or beats themselves up or throws in the towel when they don't do something perfectly the first time. I'm not saying there aren't people that do. There's just a lot of people that don't. And I mean, that's been just as researched as people who do, because we want to know what the difference is. All right. But instead of citing any of that or mentioning any of it or, you know, talking about the fact that there is research about that out there, Anna just assumes that we're all like her and that we all suffer from the same kind of A-type personality that Anna likes to paint herself with. This is also so telling. Often when we set goals, we tie them to an event or a milestone we use as a marker of achievement. Anna, at the beginning of her running cycle in 23-24, she was like, I'm going to run a 5K. I'm going to run a 5K. And she dished her way through a 5K, and we've not seen her run since. She has not run a single step since that 5K, even though at the end of the 5K it says to be continued. And I know that she applied to go to the Disney 10K, but I also know that apparently that's incredibly competitive. And so there's a good chance that she probably just didn't get accepted into it. And that's just because apparently like God and everyone applies for it. I'm pretty sure it's probably a first come, first serve kind of a thing. So since that 5K and that final episode of her running documentary, we've not seen Anna run at all or even talk about it. She's not even mentioned running since that 5K. She then goes on to say, the challenge with setting these types of goals is that they focus on a specific endpoint or outcome. When a goal has a specific milestone, it is more likely we will fantasize about its completion. Anna was so fixated on that 5K that when she finished that 5K, she won running. You know, it's like winning the internet. She had won running. And so she didn't have to worry about it anymore. She proved all of the haters wrong because she shuffled her way through a 5K, called it running, and she got her medal at the end of the day, which, by the way, was kind of cool. It was like this shamrock-shaped bottle opener. It was really cute, actually. But she would have gotten that if she had walked the 5K, too, is my point. She could have walked the 5K. She could have not made herself sick. She mentions being physically ill while running that. It's just like, was it really worth it? When you could have done it in a way that it didn't make you ill, that you didn't do damage to yourself, when you could have done it in a safe, enjoyable, non-damaging kind of way, but you chose not to. Was it really worth it? Oh, I do highlight, for some reason she's got pounds here spelled Poundws. That's a me thing. I'm even surprised I caught it because that's dyslexia right there. I'm not saying she's dyslexic. I'm just like, oh, that looks like a dyslexic spelling. An editor would have been great for this book, and it's shit like this that makes me go, there was no editor for this book. Or if there was, it wasn't a very good one. Let's see. And this is just another section of ways that Anna's telling us more about herself than I think she means to. She says, let's say you want to be healthier and you set a goal to lose 10 pounds. Over the next few weeks, you will do everything you can to lose pounds, even if you don't enjoy it. That's a recipe for disaster. And literally anyone who isn't trying to sell you a fad diet will tell you this. Perhaps you eat foods you don't enjoy, or worse yet, don't eat enough at all. That right there is health at every size and fat acceptance rhetoric. Those two groups are convinced, or the BOPO movement, they are convinced that if you are dieting, you have a restrictive ED, that you have gone from eating like a normal person, you know, seafood and eating it, to calorie counting within a healthy calorie range. Suddenly you've got Anna, or you've got whatever they call the other. Well, yeah, they're basically accusing you of having anorexia. I'm sure I'm going to get demonetized for that. You might also exercise excessively, anything just to make the number on the scale move. Both of these are fever dreams that fat acceptance and health at every size have when they envision people dieting and trying to actively lose weight. These people don't know how to healthily lose weight, or they do know and they just don't want to take responsibility for their own obesity. And so they project these unhealthy habits onto people who are healthy, who are at a healthy weight, who are successfully losing weight. They project this onto those people in order to make themselves feel better about the fact that they can't lose weight. Well, you can't lose weight because you won't monitor what you're eating and you won't get physically active. Those are the only ways to lose weight outside of like surgery and medical intervention. And medical intervention and surgery are not long-term solutions. So the only way to lose weight and keep it off is a lifestyle change that includes moderating the food you eat and doing physical exercise. If you're not going to do those things, trust me, you're not going to lose weight. But fat acceptance and health at every size are convinced that, or they want to be convinced that people who do these things have some kind of ED, because if they didn't, well, they would just be fat like me too, because being fat is apparently the default. And this is the world that Anna actively lived in and still does, so that she can justify her lifestyle and her morbid obesity. And then we get into Anna bringing up her fat acceptance, health at every size rhetoric. She doesn't say BOPO or body positivity, as it was called, or fat acceptance or any of that, but she has this paragraph here about losing weight. Let's say you want to be a healthier. Yeah, that is it. Let's say you want to be healthier and you set a goal to lose 10 pounds. After the next few weeks, you will do everything you can to lose pounds, even if you don't enjoy it. Okay. Perhaps you eat foods you don't enjoy, or worse yet, don't eat enough at all. You might also exercise excessively, anything just to make the number on the scale move. When you do finally lose the weight, you might feel proud that you achieved your goal, but it won't necessarily be enough to compensate for all the negatives your body experienced during the process. Therein lies the problem with goals based solely on outcomes. This is F.A. Hayes BS. Fat acceptance and health at every size are convinced that any form of intentional weight loss is basically a restrictive ED, and that all you're really doing to lose weight is starving yourself and severely restricting your calories to the point of, again, starvation. There's other words I can't use on YouTube. And that you're excessively exercising to the point of damaging your body. Because fat acceptance and Hayes really wants everyone to believe that the natural set point for the human body is apparently 400 to 500 pounds of obesity, and anything other than that is restriction and restricted EDs. There is no compromise. And this is just Anna talking about that herself. There's no way in hell you could possibly lose 10 pounds by just moderate exercise and moderating your eating habits. There's no way that you could possibly lose 10 pounds while eating food that is healthy for you at moderation and just doing something as simple as walking at a moderate to fast pace 20 minutes a day. This has been studied and proven, by the way. But for Anna and the health acceptance and the fat acceptance people, this is not possible. You are either eating everything that isn't nailed down and not moving at all, or you're excessively exercising to the point of damage and starving yourself just to lose 10 pounds, which you'll just gain back again anyway. So why are you even bothering? We hear this a ton over and over and over again from Fat Acceptance, from Hayes, and we've been hearing this exact same argument from them for probably going on a decade at this point. And we have Anna basically repeating it here in her book. Anna has always been obese. And at this point in 2018, I believe she's close to, if not slightly over, her current weight, whatever the hell it is. And you can tell by the pictures. Anyway, she tells on herself a little bit here. On outcome-based goal setting, you'd pick a 5K occurring sometime in the future, create actionable steps backwards from the race's date, and work day by day towards running that race. So this is exactly what she did for this last time where she tried to run a 5K, where she sped walk a 5K. It wasn't even speed walking, where she walked a 5K. She set the goal that she was going to do a 5K, and then she trained till that day, right? So let's say you want to be a runner and you have your hopes set on running a 5K in a few months. You should say to yourself, I want to be a person who runs regularly and competes in races. This is an example of an identity-based goal. Maybe this is why Anna decided to just constantly refer to herself as a runner and to be very confrontational with her followers and her comments section when it came to her calling herself a runner. Instead of explaining this is an identity-based goal-setting tactic, she just attacked people and just called them fat-phobic and told them that they were stupid and told them that they were mean and that they didn't know what they were talking about and yeah. Because remember, as Anna has stated in past chapters, any form of criticism, positive, negative, neutral, is attacking and bullying. There's nothing else. You cannot say anything to Anna that isn't, wow, you're the most amazing person I've ever met in my entire life. You cannot say anything else other than that to Anna. Otherwise, it is attacking and bullying her. And then there's this. In simpler terms, if you keep telling yourself you're a runner and force yourself to do things runners do, then eventually you will believe you are a runner and naturally want to do those things. This is the logic she runs with. And this is after telling us that forcing ourselves to do things to achieve goals is bad. And then turns around and says, you should force yourself to do the thing because eventually, if you just make yourself do it enough times, it'll just be the thing that you do. I don't necessarily think she's wrong. I just think it's interesting that after chastising us for dieting, she then uses the exact same logic to tell us that we should just force ourselves to do things and then eventually we'll just naturally become that thing. It's like earlier in the chapters where she tells us to smile, not because we're happy, but because if we smile, we will become happy. Okay. And this is how Anna's logic works. It's weird. She goes on for the next section is how to set goals. She goes on to describe symptoms of ADD, attention deficit disorder, which somebody told me isn't a thing anymore. But let's say you're in a car driving down a highway on a 15-minute trip. You'll probably pass 15 to 50 advertisements depending on where you live. That's true. How many of them can you remember? None of them, because I'm driving. One, maybe two, if any at all. Because I'm driving. I personally focus more on the drive than the advertisements. If it's a traffic sign, that's important because that's telling me how I need to drive in the moment. An ad is an ad. If I'm the passenger, that's a whole other story. But if I'm the driver, I'm not paying attention to the billboards. Anyway, this is how our brain reacts when we create too many goals. It begins to just ignore them altogether. Citation needed. Your mind simply can't focus on one thing long enough to process when it has 85 other things pulling at your focus on a daily basis. This is attention deficit. And I'm only laughing because, again, this is Anna projecting onto her readers. This is Anna saying, I have a problem doing this. I have a hard time focusing. I get really distracted, especially if I have 85 other things running through my head at the time. Fair. But this is Anna saying, everyone does this. Not everyone does this. Some people are really good at juggling multiple things at one time. Am I one of those people? No. Do I know people like this? Yes. Are they infuriating? Yes. But the point is, this is not everyone. This is not how everyone works. And it's just so weird that she just keeps projecting her own problems onto her reader as if this is how everyone works, without any self-awareness that that's what she's doing. Then we get into another paragraph where I highlighted it because it's kind of, again, another moment where we're really seeing how Anna thinks. And it's kind of sad because in this hypothetical that she puts forward, it really shows that Anna puts non-social goals ahead of any kind of human interaction. She says, how many times have we heard phrases like, I was supposed to go to the gym today, I'm trying to go every other day, but it's okay because I spent more time with Alex, which was another one of my goals. Or I was supposed to work on that paper, but I was really focused on having a conversation with Sarah, and I'm really trying to value my friendship more. So even though I totally blew off that important paper, it's okay. Lots of goals also mean lots of reasons to celebrate, and plenty of reasons to sweep the things we aren't progressing on under the table. We allow ourselves to take one step backward on one goal in order to celebrate a small step. So in both of these instances, there is a non-social goal that should have been achieved and was ignored in favor of socializing with a human being. I'm not saying you should always put stuff on the back burner in order to socialize with human beings. I am of the opinion that living things come first, unless it's something that's like life or death kind of a thing. Josh, this little fuzzy butthead, can you see his little fuzzy face? The least you can do is look at the camera. Oh, I hate the camera. The lights are too bright. I gotcha. I know the lights are too bright. Well, now you want to sit in my lap knowing the lights are no. Who's my sweet boy? Yeah. What you needed. Yes. Want to sit up here with me? Are you going to behave? No. He's a new sweet boy. All right. Go on. Thanks. I needed a tail in my face, apparently. Living things come before anything else, honestly. That cat is going to live, hopefully 20 years, 25 years. But that's only 25 years. You know, is this video really more important than a moment with an animal that at least wants my attention in this moment? Imagine if that was a child, you know? Imagine if it was the child you were raising. Is anything you're doing in this moment truly more important than spending a moment with your kid? Unless your kid's being an absolute butt monkey in the moment, right? I get that kids throw temper tantrums. I get that point. But even then, is whatever you're doing in that moment actually more important than tending to your child who's probably throwing a fit because it wants your attention? This isn't the first time in this book even that we've seen Anna dismiss any kind of social interaction as being unimportant in the moment, right? This is just the first time where we've seen her blatantly say something to the effect of these goals of going to the gym and writing this paper is more important than any form of socialization. Now, I understand that there are times in our lives where we feel like something is more important than having a random conversation with Sarah or spending time with Alex, because, you know, maybe you have plans with Alex later on in that afternoon anyway, so you might as well go to the gym now, kind of a thing. It's just, this is an ongoing trait throughout this book that comes up with Anna a lot, is Anna downplaying social interaction over anything else. And I just think it's very telling, especially given Anna's current history, where we don't see Anna interact with friends hardly at all. We hear her talk a lot about John, but John's an employee. So we don't really see her with friends. She doesn't have a significant other. John is not her boyfriend. John is her employee. I can't think of a time that I've seen her with her family in the past couple years. That doesn't mean she's not hanging out with these people. She's just not sharing it with us, which is perfectly acceptable as well. It's just reading this and then seeing that and just kind of putting two and two together. And then there's a chapter on loneliness, which is the next chapter. It's just kind of very telling. And it's one of those moments where it just kind of makes me feel bad for her. She's obviously lonely, and I feel bad for her, because even in her mind, socializing isn't as important as anything else that she could be doing. She says, in this way, talking about, you know, spending more time socializing versus going to the gym or writing a paper. In this way, we stagnate because we never actually devote enough time to make real change in our life, and just sort of ping pong backwards and forwards based on what we choose to do daily. With this behavior, you're not setting goals at all. You're just giving yourself reason to feel better about the choices you make. This is just Anna downplaying any kind of human connection in favor of anything else. And I mean, I'm an introvert, don't get me wrong. I have a very limited, like, social budget when it comes to interacting with people. Even I will interact over a human being before doing something like life altering, life threatening, I guess. I don't know. This is, she almost gets this again. Research by Edwin Locke and Larry Latham. That's it. Dr. Locke, Dr. Latham, research through some university from some year. What? Where? And no footnote. So again, I don't know which of these 77 notes, of these 77 non-alphabetized notes in the back of this book that this lines up with. So it's another one of those moments where she gets so close. It's still not a citation, though. The next section is exercise, short, medium, and long-term goals. She says, I like to manage goals using a 10-step methodology broken up as 3, 3, 3, 1. So her short-term goals, the first 3 goals are things you already work towards and hope to accomplish in the next 2 to 4 months. These goals are important because they take into account things you are already working on and foresee as achievable. So shit you're already doing. There's nothing she's going to say here that is new. This is all regurgitation. It's something I kind of harp on throughout the entire book. When she does finally get to telling us anything self-helpish, it's very evident that she's just repeating things from other people, and there's no branding here. Like, why isn't this, you know, the glitter method 3331? You know, why she's not building anything for her brand with this book, which makes it non-memorable. And if you read through the reviews, especially on Goodreads, there's a lot of people who are fans of Anna's who bought this book back in 2018 and left a review for it. And a lot of them say, I really wanted to like this book, but it's boring. It has nothing new in it. It's the tone of it is very non-Anna-esque. It's really interesting to read them. Anyway, she talks about mid and long-term goals, and then she's dream big. Anna toggles in her stories between telling us about how she was an uber child. She was the best, the most brilliant child to ever have child. And also telling us these kind of heartbreaking stories about how her family interacts with her or interacted with her. And sometimes she does it in the same sentence. This is one of those moments where she's definitely telling us like how much of a genius child she was. She says, when I was 8 years old, someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. A precious child, I remember turning around, looking them square in the eye and responding, I want to be a Renaissance woman. I'm going to press X to doubt. When I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a barbarian, but I couldn't pronounce barbarian correctly. So I was telling people I wanted to be a ball-bearing. That was fun. But yeah, for a really long time, that's what I told people I wanted to be when I grew up. I want to be a barbarian. It was that. Oh, and a storyteller. I wanted to be a barbarian and a storyteller. I achieved one of those goals. Which one is up to you? Let's see. Desiring that Renaissance woman lifestyle in my mind. Oh, that desire has stuck with me since then. So since she was 8, she's wanted to be a Renaissance woman. How did you even know what a Renaissance woman was at 8? Like I call bullshit on this. During that Renaissance woman lifestyle, desiring that Renaissance woman lifestyle in my mind, I've taken risks I might not have otherwise taken. I've learned languages, lived abroad, took chances in my career, and always kept learning. I'm pretty sure she doesn't speak any other languages. So I'm just kind of like calling that one out. I don't know about her living abroad either, but I know she's traveled a lot. And so, yeah, you know, that's cool. Took chances in my career. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I keep telling people about Anna, because there's a lot of, I'm not really hating on Anna, honestly. Anna travels, and not only travels, but she travels on other people's dime. I don't know how she manages that. Anna has $1,000 clothing hauls that are paid for. They're just, people just send her budgets for clothes so that she'll try them on. You know, Anna's been invited to really big publicity things. She gets paid to go to Disneyland. She's like a spokesperson for Starbucks right now. Regardless of how you feel about Starbucks, they approached her to be one of their affiliates. You know, Anna makes like a lot of money just off of her social media. Don't get me wrong, I think her numbers are suspicious, but she's still making plenty of money and still getting plenty of PR gifts from like big brands, big names. So yeah, Anna's kind of winning. I mean, other than her health is shit and, you know, she's morbidly obese and apparently has no friends and doesn't know how to interact with people at a social level. I mean, other than those things, Anna seems to be doing fine. Do I believe that she wanted to be a Renaissance woman when she was 8 years old? No, I don't, because I don't believe she would know what that was. Oh, here we go. A marketer, a speaker, a fashionista. She's, oh my God, I fucking hate this so much. I forgot. She finishes this dream big BS story with, now some 25 years later, I am an author, marketeer, speaker, fashionista, scientist, analyst, and more. I know she went, and I know she supposedly has a degree in data science, but scientist? Seriously? Anna. Scientist? Anna. Come on. This one, according to recent research by Dr. Gail Matthews, a psychology professor at the Dominican University in California, so much closer. I need a date. Recent's not good enough. So close. And then I highlighted this little sentence here because, again, going back to the 5K saga, the most recent 5K saga, because she's bringing it up again. One of the criticisms that Anna got during her 5K story this last time is that Anna keeps saying that she's running daily. Like, that was one of her things. I'm running daily, you guys. I'm running daily. Even though the times she shows us running, she looks like she's basically brand new to this. And then when she actually did run or walked the 5K, it was very clear that this was not something she had actually been training hardcore or at all for. So she's got this sentence here. To go back to our previous example, I can't run a 5K if I don't buy running shoes, stretch, and practice regularly. I need to complete exercises every week, reaching months in the future to be able to achieve my goal. It's like she gets it. She understands what she was supposed to do back in 2018. But in 23, 24, she forgets it. It really does feel sometimes like Anna forgot that she wrote a book. Just her behavior and the shit that she says in her videos and stuff. It feels like she forgot that she wrote this self-help book. Another thing that I never hear her talk about is this book. I found out that she made this book through viewers. People made mention of this in my comment section. And I was like, oh, really? Anna never mentions this book, ever. I've never heard her talk about it. I've never heard her reference it or just kind of drop the hint of, oh, by the way, I published a book back in 2018. Nada. Okay. And it kind of shows. Like, back in 2018, she wrote these words about what she needs to do in order to complete a 5K. And then in 23, 24, she repeats everything that she wrote in this book as if this was foreshadowing, and still doesn't stretch and doesn't practice regularly. She still doesn't do exercises every week to be able to achieve her goal. I'm not saying she didn't walk the 5K. She did, but you're not going to convince me that she was running every day and practicing every day leading up to the 5K. I forget this chapter just never ends. This next story that she tells, I think, is meant to make her look good and to show that she's like a mentor and like she's good with people. That is not what I took away from this. So she says, I remember working with a young intern named Sarah. She's got a thing for that name. When I was a manager at a software company. As far as I know, she was only, I don't know Anna's work history, but she only had so many jobs before she quit to become Glitter and Lasers. Sarah was brilliant and desperately wanted to work for us, but the company wasn't hiring. That's a red flag in my book, but people will work for peanuts because they think it will get them somewhere. So we put the power of effective planning to work. And every week we would sit down with our goals in mind and discuss 2 questions. What do you think you can uniquely do to help this company? You, Sarah, the intern, what can you do to help us? Us. And how are you, Sarah, the intern, going to prove that? So every week, Anna sat down with this unpaid intern and interrogated them on what they could do for the company and how they were going to prove their loyalty to the company for weeks. For weeks. And Sarah wanted to work for this company? Every time Sarah took a step forward, we celebrated, and I encouraged her to write it down on a spreadsheet or a notebook. Anna did this. Anna encouraged Sarah to do this, by the way. This was Anna's idea. Additionally, I helped others celebrate with her by sharing her success with other managers and employees. So Anna did the bragging for Sarah. Often, a barrier to our own long-term success is not acknowledged and sharing with others when we have, in fact, made progress. I didn't fuck that sentence up. When review time came around, Sarah had a documented list of the things she had done, and she had a meaningful list of ways she'd helped the company, and she had a bevy of people who knew her for her work ethic and results. All because of Anna, by the way. This was all because of Anna. Anna's the one that gave her that idea. Anna's the one that set her down every week and interrogated her. Anna is the one that bragged about her to everyone else. At a time when the company was on a hiring freeze, Sarah got a job. Sarah was an intern at this job. Was she getting paid? Was this job paying her as an intern? In my opinion, that should have been happening in the first place. And so basically, not only were they making Sarah work for free, potentially, but Anna was also further drilling this person to prove her loyalty to the company as an intern, an unpaid intern, all the while dangling the hope of a job in front of this woman. You want a job? Did you want a job? You want a job? What are you going to do for the job? It's such a dick story. It's so Anna. I hate to be like that, but this one I believe. Because Anna's this kind of person. You want to work for me? You want to work for me? What are you going to do? What are you going to do for it? I mean, yay, Sarah got a job in the end. How long did this take? 4 weeks. How long did this take? Anyway, by keeping track of your little wins along the journey, you can create moments to look back on, and you can take time to reflect on the successes you've had up to that point. This is not bad advice. However, this does explain why Anna makes all these little documentaries here and there. The 5K, I think, being the longest of them, but she's always documenting her trips to places and always having them be like learning experiences for her. She's always learning the same thing every time she goes on vacation, but she keeps making these vacation documentaries anyway. And I think this is why, is because she's creating moments to look back on, or potentially to look back on, so that she can be like, ah, yes, I achieved that thing. And that's fine, I guess, but it does kind of explain it. Again, I don't necessarily think that's bad advice. I don't think the advice she gave Sarah, mythical Sarah, who I'm sure is not her real name, I hope, but she's got a thing for that name. She even spells it the same way. So that's the end of the chapter. We don't get any actionable steps at the end of this chapter like we've gotten in the past. So I guess screw you and your goals. We're not really told how to do like goal setting. There's a 10-step approach to goal setting in the middle of the chapter, which she goes over her 3-3-3-1 plan. But, you know, literally every book that talks about goal setting falls back on SMART goals, SMART goals, or something like that. I don't remember. I don't pay attention. But it's this pretty well documented and well used goal setting system that well, pretty much everybody uses at this point. It's just kind of been absorbed into everything. That's the SMART goal setting. You can find all kinds of resources for it on the internet if you want. At no point is it this 3-3-3-1 thing. But, you know, again, this was a branding moment that Anna just kind of slept on and doesn't reiterate at the end of the chapter, which is kind of weird. The end of the chapter basically just seems to be her trying to brag about how she helped this intern get a job after dangling it in front of her for weeks on end. Sarah must have really wanted to work for that software company. But anyway, all right, so that's the end of that book. So that's the end of that chapter. Next time we will be doing chapter 8, which is about loneliness, and it's a very sad chapter. Very sad chapter. So yeah, look forward to that. We are, as of chapter 8, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are 5 chapters away from the end of this book. So if you're reading along, let me know what you guys think. Have I been giving emojis for these? If you've made it this far and you like what you're seeing, you like what you're hearing, go ahead and put a book emoji in the comments section. And yeah, again, if you're reading along, because I know this is available in audio format, and I know there's a couple people who mentioned they own a copy of it. Go ahead and let me know what you guys think when you got to this chapter. And if you're not, go ahead and let me know what you think anyway. I know a lot of you are just kind of experiencing the book as I read it. So let me know. Just let me know down in the comment section down below your emojis are a book. And I will see everybody in the next chapter. Bye.
This is my outro music. You can't copyright strike me because it's just me singing. This is my outro music. Thank you for watching. See you next time.